Well, hello. How you doing,
Hi,
everyone?
everyone.
Hey, happy Wednesday. You can tell
Yes.
because we're here. So, anyway, it's good to see you all, even though we can't see you. So that was obviously a weird thing to say, but it's really good to be here. We're really having some fun with the YouTube channel lately. We saw like a really big uptick this week in numbers for our new video, where it became like our number one video within 36 hours of being out. So we're really excited. And this week there's a new one coming that we're much more excited about even than last ones, which is about reps. Not because there's been a conversation going on about reps lately a lot on social media, but because we were going to do it anyway, and then people seem to suddenly start thinking about it. I think it was just a function maybe of the world opening back up again out there, and also then the sort of the air coming out of the room post strike, as everybody was sort of holding their breath to see, and now it's like, okay, well, it's quiet, or it's, this or that, or whatever your perception of it is, because everybody's got a different perception of the old market right now. I know mine isn't as the doesn't quite align with what you see going around a lot on Twitter. But anyway, people have been talking about reps. We've been thinking about reps for a while. And we've been wanting to talk to them, to you about them for a while. How you doing, Marsha?
Good. How are you, Jeff? And then so it's so fun being back here and talking about this because we always get questions about this. And I agree with you. There's a lot of uncertainty, obviously because of the strike and everyone hearing about the consolidation and streaming. And I just feel like there's this doom and gloom with everybody. But first, I want to ask: has Hollywood ever been easy to break into? Number one.
No.
Never. So
I mean, look, there's always some people for whom it is either easy to break in or seems easy to break in. But no, there's never been like a time where it was just like, oh, this is, you just show up and waiting there for you. I wish you would release that dog. The animal
I
cruelty people have been sniffing around for a while. So as everybody knows, Marsha's hero is Cruella DeVille, and she has these dogs back there. And I just don't want to get into it again. I've already
all
told.
dogs do not go to heaven. I'm just kidding.
Oh, Lord. I know it's
No.
October. Yeah, listen, it's never been easy. I don't want to be one of those like Gen X turned boomer people who like downplays, the world and struggles and all that stuff. I don't know. I had it hard breaking in. All my friends had it hard breaking in. I see new friends now having trouble breaking in still. And I don't think much has changed. I just think the ways it's hard are different now. The ways it was hard for us back then was how to get access and things like that. Now it's how to get attention with so much access. It's a slightly different equation, but it's never been easy. Maybe I think we have this perception like we do like way back in the past, like in 1934, you could come off the train from Dayton, Ohio, and go to work at Paramount the next day. So
But the truth is this: it's because people only hear what they read or hear, right? Someone tweeted or it came out in the trades. They're not privy to the behind the scenes tens of thousands of scripts and everyone trying to push stuff through the system. If you guys saw how the sausage got made, then you guys would really probably step back a little bit and go, okay, so this is the game. It's always been challenging, right?
we
So
we didn't want to talk about this. Marsha and I are like, let's not be like an inside baseball kind of channel. Let's keep stuff private. But we've been researching a lot lately this idea that the algorithm loves dogs who sound like they're in pain and barking in the background. And so we're just out here testing it. Does the algorithm want more pained doggy sounds? And if they do, could we be the first person in line to bring it? So that's what we're hoping for. So that's why we're here today. And
see,
that's
it's even
that's what we're
it's
doing.
even tougher for the dogs to break in. Okay.
I think what the dog is saying is stop whining about your human problems. Like, I have 4 years to live and my food gives me kidney stones.
I need a
So
bone. I need a bone. Exactly.
anyway, so yeah, look, there's a thing.
So
Let's start talking about this reps
yeah.
thing, before the dog gets
So
over, and that way you can move a little bit and we can
so
get by.
yeah.
But
So let's yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry. Let's start with everybody because I think it's all kind of been muddled, some overlap. But maybe Jeff, go one by one. Explain what does a manager do, an agent do, and a rep do first.
All right, well, why don't you
I'll
hit
be
me and
mute.
I'll do that. So, look, a rep is an agent or a manager, so there's nothing to worry about there. There's not three categories. There's two categories of rep, agent and manager. Agents are licensed by the state. They take 10% of the earnings to the agency. They are a legal entity that is allowed to procure work for writers and directors and everybody else out there. Managers, by contrast, are just anybody could start a company and be a manager. It's not like a state thing. It's not necessarily mandated how much they take. There's been people historically who used to try to take 15% and more and stuff like that. 10 sort of settled to be the industry standard and people stayed there. Technically, managers aren't allowed to go solicit work for you, but I mean, I don't know who enforces that, because it certainly never seems to have been enforced in the 25 or 6 years that I've had like managers around. The other thing is, look, the perception is this: agents make deals and managers help you develop. And I think that's like the perception that's settled in for a lot of people. Lawyers make deals, agents make phone calls and make meetings and really make things happen behind the scenes. But the physical art of cutting the deal is with the lawyer. Agents are the hustlers who go out there. They know everybody and they're power brokers and they make things happen. And they're really, really important and very pivotal to the process at a certain point. Managers, yes, they're there for development. Sometimes that means that they can sort of slow you up, is the perception that I seem to get from a lot of people and their managers. The different, managers are meant to be your day-to-day person in a way that agents are there for when there's big important things happening. So what the whole manager thing implies is that there's this manager person there who holds your hand through the entire process. And I think that's completely true when you're first starting out, but after a little while that ends, but people still have managers, and you'll find yourself after a while getting past the point of developing with your manager and then wondering what's up. And why do people still keep managers? Because now the system is kind of developed for people to have managers, agents, and lawyers. It's sort of designed for you to have the jumbo package of everybody, because agents have so many clients now and agencies have so many clients that they need managers to do most of the day-to-day, heavy lifting, so that they can come in and swoop in with the big seal of the agency and close it out and make the deal. Managers are meant to have fewer clients and deal with them more personally. I feel like that's gone by the wayside, in the last few years. I think they just take on as many as they can possibly handle, just like everybody else. Managers are interesting and important, but they're not a panacea. They're not something that's just going to come along and make it all better. A really good manager complements all of your creative efforts and helps you a little bit with those creative efforts, but also just really keeps you out there in the industry and keeps people aware of you all the time, almost like an old-fashioned press agent in some ways too. And it's like that's what's really good about them. What you can't ever expect any rep to do is to do the whole job of being out there representing you. They're best used as a tool to help you open doors and get places and monitor people and movements around town and assignments that are open and projects that are available to get staffed on and stuff like that. But if you sit at home and you never try to meet anybody or get anything rolling on your own, because you just go, oh, well, now I've signed with this manager and they'll do it or anything, that is definitely like a get poor quick scheme, so beware of that kind of thinking. How's your dog doing, Marsha? I want to check in.
They're okay. And by the way, you guys, I know I'm still drinking the hot coffee, just in case you guys were curious. So thank you for all your support. A couple questions. Yvonne, hi, Yvonne. What is the etiquette if a manager contacts you? Maybe that's the answer. Sorry. And what should be aware? What should you be aware when it comes to it's a newer manager versus a more established one?
What is it to be aware of versus so what was the first part of the question again? Sorry, you were dogging up there.
Oh, so the first question is, what's the etiquette if a manager contacts you?
Right. Look, if you're interested in them, answer back and set up a time, or set up a read. I think the problem with a lot of people have in dealing with reps is this idea that there is some etiquette or this or that. We've had a couple on at our sessions, and one of the reasons I bring them in to talk to writers is so that we can look at them and go, they're so much like us. You know what I mean? It's like they're not like strangers from a strange land. They're just nerds who moved here from somewhere else to chase a Hollywood dream, and this is where they landed. You know what I mean? And this is the way that they chose to go about it. So don't think of them as the other. Don't try to think of what it's just like anybody else. When there's something to say, get in touch. When there's not, don't maybe have superfluous communication with somebody is like super duper busy. Stay on the radar, but don't be like jumping around waving your hands all the time. I say, basically pretend that it's junior prom. That same
And,
rules.
and one of the things I think, just to expand on that, because I think a lot of a lot of the writers I've talked to, they're thinking once they get a manager, the manager is actually going to, when you say the word develop and push them through, like make the product, really, and how much hands-on is it? Like, you say day to day, but is it that your success is dependent upon them making sure you get to a certain place, or is it one of those that you kind of have to try it out and see if it's even a good fit, with the
Yes.
manager?
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, but essentially, the care and handling of this relationship is not like that crazy difficult. You are there as a team. They do want to offer guidance. They want to offer more guidance when you're starting out, and later it sort of evens out, and then it sort of ends where you're sort of much more dictating exactly how things are going to go. And that's just the natural progression of things. And you want that progression because it means that you made them a bunch of money and they can't say no. Early on, you got to work with them. Don't let them be your boss, but you're not yet in the position where you can treat them as the employee either. The real truth is, what you're hoping for is to spark with somebody who is an equal partner and really cares about you and wants to go out there and push your stuff around. That's what it's for. What was the next part of your thing? Yeah, you had like 3 things in there.
Well, no, I think that kind of answers it. So
Yeah, you had in there at the end. Pretty good.
it's that, yeah, it's a partnership, and so
The
it's got to work
etiquette,
for the
and then
both.
there was something after the
Oh
etiquette.
yeah, what should be aware when it comes to a newer manager versus a more
Right,
established?
newer manager versus established manager. Always, 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 despite any brand name that is going on out there, and I'm not talking about like, I mean the real brand names, amongst real management companies, amongst real agencies, amongst all those kind of places. Not necessarily that you've even heard of them, but ones where you can find out, oh, they have good clients, or they do have a good reputation, or they're known. I'm talking about good places, reputable places, and all the big ones. The the big equation is the one who's the most excited about you is always the best one. I've done it before where I've been impressed by a super brand name and gone in and signed, and they haven't been as like excited about me as the smaller person was, and I've paid horribly for it. You know what I mean? And I've done the other way where I've gone to the smaller place because they were super enthusiastic. And the great thing about it is, you're sort of like a big thing for them. They're excited about you and invested, and they really, want to put your stuff out there and get behind you. And that's what you're looking for. The person who you believe at 4:47 on a Friday afternoon is going to pick up the phone and make that call on your behalf when it comes down to like finding out some news or pushing something or making sure something gets worked, thought about over the weekend or whatever that it is. Whoever you get the confident factor from that they're going to do that, that's the one. But it doesn't matter if they're old, new, green, or withered with experience. It matters about their enthusiasm for you. And somebody could be the greatest agent or manager in the world and be cold on you and not be as good as somebody who's like at the 8th out of 9 places on the list, but really is excited and is a go-getter and is going to make some noise. So
it's really about the fit, right? It's like the perfect shoe.
Kind of, what you got to do is trust your gut. Don't believe in a brand name. Don't believe in the pure hustle of somebody, because it all sounds like used car sales at some point where you're just getting these pitches from people and the spiels about what they do and everything, and it all sort of blends together, and they all ostensibly say the same thing. The best ones are the ones who sort of throw that stuff aside and just talk like a person, like throw all the boilerplate stuff away and just talk about it like two people talking about. The way I always posture it to people when I would be talking to them about these kind of relationships is, yes, I am looking for the person in whom I hand trust, over the career that I use to feed and house my children. You know what I mean? So it's like, I want them to know it's not like a hobby thing. It's a very serious thing. So Don't be afraid to be yourself in this thing. Don't be the creepy version of yourself and push things and try to be over the top, but don't be the milquetoast version of yourself either and run and hide. It's a last thing, but it's like it is like a marriage in some ways. It's like if you're not deadly honest about who you each are going into this thing, and then later, you just paint a happy picture, and then later get into it and things don't turn out quite that way, it's just not going to work. Like you've always got to be yourself in these things. And if yourself is, hey, I'm a little nervous about this because I've never been in this situation before. That's who you are. If yourself is, hey, I just want to make sure that if I get a little cold for 6 months and the phone stops ringing, that you don't give up on me or drop me to the bottom of the list, then that's who you are. Like be you and ask the questions that you have. And don't worry that there's some rule book out there about maintaining relationships. There's 8 billion of us on this planet, and there's probably like 100 million of us are agents, and that's that small population of 100 million agents, they just are people too. They don't need to be treated like some sort of exotic animal.
And so it could be, yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And sometimes it could just be like, they just really aren't a good fit for you. Doesn't mean that they're bad, you have you. So everybody, you interview them as much as, they're asking you questions, and, find the right person.
And read the room. Don't take it over
Yeah.
like you're doing a job interview, but don't be afraid. Don't be shy about you and what you need either. That's all.
Yeah. And so kind of with that, got a couple questions that kind of overlap. Dan asked, hi, Dan. He wants to purchase the film option to a book in the next week. After receiving praise from a mentor, he doesn't have any representation yet. Any advice?
Yeah, start with the author. If you can get to the author, especially through social media where so many of them are lurking around and everything, it is a much better shot because you two are going to be talking the same language, which is enthusiasm over the project. If you end up in the hands of the publisher or the agent or this or that, you are definitely going to be waiting in line. So before you do anything too official, really try to go after the author. I've had books where they've been brought to me and I've been able to get them, but I've never like gone after a book where I didn't get to the author, first and talk to them. They ultimately control it. And if they're excited about what you want to do, then that's really good. And the best way to approach authors is to say, I love what you did. I'd love to be your partner in this thing and in making it come to life. Like, I don't want to, you never want to go pitch them and say, I want to use this one small paragraph of your thing for authenticity and then change everything. You really want to go after those things that you believe in, and you can look them in the eye and say, like, let's go do this together. Like, I know how to translate this to the screen.
And do you feel like after Dan, just the fact that you get the option, that you've done 1,000 things, you've gone 1,000 steps ahead, people just talking about it. So that shows that, your commitment to this project. And Jeff, what would you recommend that, okay, he has this, and try to get rep first, or just write the script and just, like everybody else, just push it out there and see what bites?
Look, the reality is do it all at the same time. There's
Okay.
no
Yeah, we'll get to a little distract. Yeah.
doing all those things at the same time, you're screwing yourself up. You know what I mean? So it's like, but don't stop writing and go through some period where you're now suddenly I'm focused on finding representation or whatever. They're both just ongoing processes that are never going to end. So.
And Vorn wrote, I've seen some managers end up being producers on their client projects. Is there a line here? And if they help develop material early on, couldn't they claim this or some other credit on everything? And by the way, this is one of the things, Jeff, that you mentioned, that most managers, their whole intention is to brute produce, or a lot of them do. So yeah. Take it.
Yeah. Is there a line? I think the line is in the eye of the beholding writer. I don't think there's any kind of official line because different people feel different ways about it. My approach has always been, you do what you got to do. You know what I mean? It's like when I've had managers who said they were going to attach to things or did attach to things, I would just always say to them, like, don't attach yourself to anything where it's going to mess it up, or don't attach it to anything where it's going to lower its chances of having something good happen or something like that. I think there's a lot of writers out there who get really offended by the idea. I know we all fired our agents a while back for, packaging stuff that isn't like dissimilar to the kinds of like ethical grounds that you're talking on. I know there's people who get like a lot of, wrath of stuff from people for double dipping, where they take commissions and take producing fees. It's like, it's a world of landmines out there, and different people are doing different things ethically that they feel they can, stomach each individually to maximize the amount of money they make, because it's that kind of business in that kind of town. So you got to pick your spot along the way where your ethics and your code, hey Omar, tell you how far you're willing to go, and which kind of people you're willing to accept and not. Once you get to know the people, and you see what they like, you know whether or not you want to be in business with them or do that kind of business. So yeah, you don't be afraid to pick and choose either. I just want to say, whether it comes to MBA negotiations or picking an agent or determining how to approach people about mentorship or asking for favors or any of that stuff, I think as writers, we shift to a character tendency sometimes that is a little meek. And I think that maybe it's like, it's not necessarily a problem to sort of ask for what you need or go after what you want. I came from the 80s, another time. People just sort of like went after what they wanted in sort of an individualized Ayn Randian way that is obviously not like great for society and really caused a lot of the problems of where we are now. But I do think as individuals, there's like an entrepreneurial spirit within us. And that, if you are a writer and you're just super creative and and that's it, and you don't also have that entrepreneurial spirit, you might find yourself in a little bit of trouble entering the marketplace. It's really, to me, it's the people who sort of peak in both ways, where it's like they get as excited about their ideas as they get excited about like working the business and getting to see how it all happens and learning how to make things play out. Those people usually do pretty well. You keep in mind that it's a job. A lot of us treat it as a dream factory. It's a job. The more you treat it like a job, the better your results get.
And okay, so if someone what's the relationship between managers and agents? How do they work together?
Yeah.
And is that something they are loath to do?
If the hierarchy had its way, writers would talk to managers and managers would talk to agents and agents would talk to studios, and that, you know what I mean, and like that's the way that it would go, and it would be this unilateral, like one way up lane chain of communication to make things happen. And I think that's the traditional way that a lot of people see it as happening anyway. I don't know, there's no set rules. I get to know my agents and I like to talk to them, you know what I mean? And it's like I usually will pick one out of the group and really like them, like whichever one I like the most, and I'll reach out to that one the most whenever I need anything. And that's the way that it works, for
Thank
me.
you, that was from Jason. Thank you, Jason. And
Yeah.
then I want to combine.
That's amazing. It's so cool that he reached out.
Yeah, he came under a pseudonym, Jason Marcus. So
incredible. Wow, that video of you tripping on the stairs is incredible.
And Ken and Robert, hi guys. Let me see. Let me jump to Robert's first. So with that, you have a manager and rep. Robert wants to know have you ever had a piece of material you wrote your reps didn't like, but you did, and how did you handle it? And because Fusco actually answered this one in the interview, and a great answer.
Yeah. I'm not as graceful a gentleman as Mr. John Fusco. I wish I were. Yeah, sure. It's happened a bunch of times. I would usually say something like, well, I think you're wrong, or, well, I love it, or, well, I've already slipped it to blank, and they said blank, that's because I'm from Baltimore and I just don't want to hear it. Very early in my career, my writing partner and I signed with this very prestigious place. They weren't like one of the big three, but they were just a brand that was really well known for like smart writers, and we wrote a script that they found so collectively offensive that they called us once and they were like, well, we don't like to get on the phone and doubt the talent of a client. And it was like, and that was when we realized, well, okay, well, maybe it's time to exit from this place that was, known for like, very classy stuff, and we were probably like young and comedy and strange, and I think we were going to be their strange clients, who they like have fun with. So yeah, it's sometimes it just doesn't fit and you got to walk away. Are these relationships made to last forever? No. You notice that you don't go to like a church and take a vow in front of God or anything with your agent. You know what I mean? You usually don't even sign anything. I mean, I've never signed anything with anyone for any of these things. You have a great, lovely transactional business relationship that blossoms into a lovely friendship too. And you have aligned goals that make you want to go out there and kick ass together. And that's really what it's about. And at a certain point, they get used to you and you get used to them and you know all the same people and you freshen up the relationships. Just it happens. I've had it happen where I've been really happy to trade. And then I've had it happen where I was like, oh no, what have I done? Why did I do that? I was so happy I should have stayed. So you're going to feel all different kinds of things and attachments. You very rarely hear those people where they're like, oh yeah, I had the same agent for 27 years and retired to blah, blah, blah. You know, it's mostly like, you know, oh yeah, I bounced around between 3 or 4 places because I had to freshen up every now and again.
And Ken's question, thank you. What does it mean in real terms to have an agent or manager offer to hip pocket represent you? Is that better than searching for full representation?
Don't stop searching for full representation while that's happening. Never stop until you actually have it. But the hip pocketing thing is really useful, and it was to me until I, like an idiot, would contact other agents and name drop the person hip pocketing me, which was obviously the height of stupidity of young Jeffrey in fall of 1998. So don't make that mistake. But which, yeah, the hip pocketing thing is good. It's a step. Agents can't sign you right away because they can't keep $0 on their roster. They need to add somebody in with money attached, or else their value to the agency is perceived as lower because of how agents are rated and valued at agencies. So why won't an agent hire you until there's a deal around? Because they'll have a 0 on their account that will lower their overall value to the agency and their career potential ahead of time. Why will they hip pocket you? Because they can't wait for you to make money that they are sure you're going to, and they want to be right there to have you and put you on the official list when it is. So hip pocketing is like a good thing. It is very rare these days, like very rare. They used to do it almost all the time. You could tell when you were really getting close because somebody would pick you up and do that. From what I hear now, it's really frowned upon. So there you go.
Okay, and so you know what?
Side, not the writer's side. Writers love.
Okay. And Alex had a question, but I think that, well, Alex, your question we'll get into because it's more about how to search and network. But I want to go to LTJ Go. When I send in rougher spec pilots to my manager, they don't respond well. But the super polished stuff, they get behind. So I'm gun shy about sending new stuff to my manager. What
Right.
should I do other than strangling them?
You should do what you should always do and have done and probably do and will continue to do forever, which is learn how to be your own best reader and reviser and editor of notes and provider of notes. The minute you move that shit in-house, you do much, much better. The minute that you stop relying on friends or this place or that place and learn the skills that it takes to read your own stuff and figure out how to revise it, you're going to go much further, much faster. Invest your time in figuring out how to revise your stuff. It's key. And once you know how to do it yourself, you can stop asking, you know? And what happens is there's this beautiful thing that happens when you do that. You start handing people things they've never heard of or seen before that read like fourth drafts because they are, you know, but it's like they don't need to know that. It's first draft to them. What you got to do is you got to lay off the tendency and the desire. You got to ignore the burst of dopamine or whatever that comes from our brains when we type fade out and just hold on to that thing and don't send it anywhere for a while. All those initial reads that you send it to right after you've done are burned because they're not going to read the proper version of the thing and they're never going to be able to read it like it was the first time again. So hold back, sharpen your revision skills. I don't know anybody who didn't become either professional, like as in getting paid, or became much better paid once they really invested in their rewriting skills.
Thank you. And then a couple of these, we're gonna mix them up a little bit. Because we had one from Twitter and it relates to what Ken was asking about. And Sarah asked this. Pros and cons of an entertainment lawyer versus an agent.
Uh-huh. Uh, Look, there's all these anecdotal stories right now about writers who are getting by with like entertainment lawyers alone. I think that's great. I mean, I think whatever formula works for whatever person is wonderful. For me personally, what I like about the agencies is they are constantly renewing their core lower level people to constantly know the other lower level people at all the studios and buyers and all the producers and all the places. And they really have their fingers on the pulse of stuff that's out there and available and jobs that are out there to get. That's what's great about them. If you have a different kind of business, if you have a business where you like to generate originals and take them out to the market and do this, or you like to acquire a book or an article or whatever on your own and adapt it and take it out on the market and do that, that lawyer model could totally work for you. It presupposes that you have the relationships necessary to get that done. So I feel like at one point or another in your career, you're going to have to go the managers and agents route. And I feel like that lawyer only route is more one for people later on. Look, why do you do it early on? Because it's all you have. You add on to the team. Why do you do it later? Because you've seen through the team aspect, have been introduced to everybody that there is, and see a potential to scale back to just lawyer and pull it off. So to me, it's something that happens at the beginning of your career, not by choice, and later in career by choice by some. But it is definitely not the mainstream path. And if, like I said, if you rely on yourself and your ability to bring in the material, then that's the way to go. If you're looking for jobs on TV show, or you're looking for jobs in the system to rewrite, or you want, 100 people to get your spec, then you got to go the other route.
And okay, and then kind of along that lines with where did it go? Oh, it was Ken's question. Okay, kind of okay. Is there a typical way of, let's say you start with an attorney first, is there a path of the attorney finding you a rep? How does that work? Or a manager?
Yeah. In the, I've had different incarnations of career like everybody does. Once I started working with Flanagan, for us, the representation stuff began with the lawyer that I still have today. And he still has today. And that lawyer brought in a manager, and then that manager brought in the agents, and then the whole package was complete. But it was like, yeah, starting with a lawyer is a really bright idea. The beautiful thing about entertainment lawyers as a place to start is, like I've said in our Zooms and in our sessions many times, they don't get a lot of query letters. You know what I mean? They'll get 12% of the number of query letters that an agent or a manager would get, very few. And as a result, your chances of getting responses and stuff are much higher. Yeah, real Los Angeles based, takes 5% of your income, not any hourly or extra fees, entertainment lawyer is a great place to start.
Thank you. And whether they're entertainment lawyers, agents, reps, or whoever it is, does any representation, does it matter the genre you're writing? Or is there genre snobbery? I don't know.
No, no, there's only money.
Whatever makes money. Yeah, exactly. Whatever makes money.
Everybody to me, the agents and managers I've known have two criteria, and they're just about even for real. Many of us think this isn't true. You'll think it's not, but they're pretty much 50-50 as far as I can tell. It's, do I love it? Can I sell it? And they're about even. They don't want to work on stuff and with people whose stuff they don't like, and work on stuff they don't like any more than like we do. Once again, if we stop thinking of them as the other, and just start thinking of them as people on like a different path from ours, but on the same mountain, then it becomes a lot clearer how to deal with them.
And I think that was it. Any more questions that are specific to entertainment attorneys, manager roles, rep roles? Find something that makes money, and and contact them. Bottom line. Okay.
Look, if we're gonna, because I do think it's good to wrap up. I just want to say about the reps.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, because I had a couple questions, but I wanted to get to any more of the definition stuff, because the next two questions are about how to find them. That's why. So
How to find agents and managers?
yeah, so one person was like, Alex, hi, Alex. He's in Canada and he's just, he's wondering what his chances are. Is it feasible to find reps in the US? Because there's not as many in Canada. And then also Tony had a question, hi, Tony, about contests. And does it improve your chances of finding management?
It depends on the contest when it comes to contests, again, my little simple rule for life would be, if I was thinking about entering a contest and I had limited funds, like I think 99.99999% of the people in the world do, I would look at the list of those judges and see if there's anybody on that list who could help me. And if there wasn't, I wouldn't enter that contest. And if there was, I would think about it, and the more likely that they were to be closer to somewhere actually helpful. If J.J. Abrams, head of TV, was the judge of one of 3 judges in the screenplay contest, I'd probably take a much harder look at joining it than if it was like, the last Society of Daughters of the American Revolution screenplay competition. You know what I mean? So.
But but I think what people have to understand is they're contests for a reason. If it was a guaranteed, like, you're going to win a motion picture contract, that's a whole different story.
Sure.
So,
look, you can never say never. You never know
yeah,
what's going to work. Everybody's got a twisted turning individual path. Have I ever personally bumped into anybody who was like, yeah, you remember me, I won this contest and blah, blah, blah? No, never once. I've almost everyone I've ever met who got into the industry like the same exact way. They networked themselves until they found somebody who opened a door that opened another one that led to a place that got them into a place that took them seriously, but it's never a straight line. So
exactly. So your mileage can vary. I think just to say 1 + 1 = 2, that is not true. You just don't know
that
that's
is
a thing.
true, technically. So what there was a question
in terms of getting a
before.
rep, in terms of getting a rep,
Yes.
like there's no, you could do 1 + 1
I just don't want my
=
son to watch this video and be like, hey,
We're
Marsha
not
doesn't
talking
know
about.
that. There was a question right before it that was
when we tell him then it's about Hollywood, then he goes,
Oh,
yeah,
was
no amount of numbers.
how to find them? There was a previous question about how to find them or something like that.
Yeah, is it feasible for someone in Canada?
I mean, my number one piece of advice would be come back Friday around noon, like because the YouTube video that's coming out Friday at noon is all about all of this stuff. So like come
It's
back.
gonna be recorded. So yeah, Jeff will give you guys more practical things.
And I like it.
And Ken had another good question. What are things to bring up at the first meeting with a manager or a rep? And what are topics to avoid?
Sure. Well, to first not skip over the previous one about finding them. They're there to be found. They're difficult to be found. Agents are particular about when they come around. Managers are less particular about when they come around, but they're particular about what they take on because it's entirely taste oriented. For 99.77% of them, it's only about what they love. So it's what I'm going to talk to you about on Friday when you come and check out the new YouTube video. It's a numbers game, and I'm going to show you a little methods of how to play the numbers game to increase your chances. So what was the one you just said there, my dear?
What? What are good things to bring up and what are things to avoid?
Right. Nazism, maybe not one to bring up. What I would say is it's a first date. I'll play it the same way as you would a first date. You know what I mean? You want to be yourself and you want to be real and you want to build a bridge toward knowing each other better. You don't want to put on any kind of performance art, but you also don't want to get into the pathos of your relationship with your godmother or something either. You know what I mean? There's limits. So it's for me, it was always like a first date. You're yourself, you are relaxed and happy to be there, and you're exploring this little thing to see if there's more there, so.
Got it. And
did I date wrong? Is that just wrong? maybe
I think so. And Lauren had one more. How much of a slate do you think a writer should have? Basically, what samples should you be prepared with? You
should look, you got to keep writing, but don't keep moving on. You must also rewrite. You just can't write these things, have a draft, go, I got that one down, now let me keep adding to the quiver. Nobody gives a shit about the quiver unless they're great. You know what I mean? So you've got to go back and keep rewriting them. people say, well, should I write all one kind of thing, or should I write what I want? You should write the best idea you've got at any given time, no matter what. Take the best one that you've got on your list, the one that you'd go see on Friday night, or that you'd start binging on, Saturday morning and never get out of bed that day because you watched the whole show. Whatever that one is that's burning in you that doesn't yet exist, that's always the one to do. Like, um, outside of that, do you need to build up a giant, number of scripts to have it? No, you need one great one. Do you need a huge number back catalog of stuff to be valuable to them? No, you need one great one they can sell. Do you need you can see where I'm going here? You don't need a ton of them. You need one perfect one. You might have 11, but as long as you got one perfect one, that's fine. You know what I mean? And once again, on Friday midday, come back, because we're going to talk about what is a perfect script to get a manager or an agent there. So I'm going to give you a much more detailed definition of how to get to a script that's ready for them.
And also Jason Bloom wants to know, he likes his manager, but should he go about finding an agent through them if there's agents they prefer to work with, or should I look for one on my own who reps folks whose careers I want to emulate? Everyone wants to give away 10% of their money. This is fun.
Listen, Marsha, I know how you can see it that way, but I think we're
just kidding.
No, when you're building this stuff and you're building one of these careers, I would advocate having the biggest team that you can possibly have, because it's going to give you the widest reach. You know what I mean? What you want when you're first out there sparking to people, when you're an unknown quantity, but they've heard good things, or they've read one thing and they want to know more, when you're in that zone, you want to go as wide as humanly possible. So having a big team ensures that you're going to go out to many, many different people. I don't think you need a big team at all stages in your career, but I would hugely advocate having one toward the beginning, and I'd hugely advocate having one toward the end. But like in the big fat middle part of your career there, you might find that you need it less. What was the first part of their question? No, that was me answering you.
Well, yeah. So how I really like my manager. Should I go about finding an agent through them, or
So if you have a manager and they're not already looking for an agent for you, you may not have a manager. You know what I mean? So beware. I mean, the first thing a manager wants to do is go find an agent. Why? They want a slightly more powerful partner to ally with them when it comes time to go out and sell your stuff. Why do they want that? I tell you the biggest practical reason, yes, is the industry divided now between people who deal with agents and managers, and like what agents and their perception of what they do? Sure. But what's always the greatest benefit of having both? They can tag team the people that you're waiting on answers from, instead of one of them continuing to pester and look like a jerk. And so it's better for them and it's better for you. You got two different entities out there, so looking out for you and asking those questions of people when you're waiting on things to hear back from them, instead of just one. And that really helps them call back, because they don't want to make two different entities angry to not get the job done. So anyway, there's a lot of, yes, if they're not looking for one now, you should talk to them about it. If they're not willing to go look for one, you should definitely question what they're doing for you. You know what I mean? If they are looking for one for you, it's better to go with the ones that they're looking for. They're going to hook you up with friends for sure, but they're not going to hook you up with somebody ineffective, because they want a partner in this to go have some success. It means far more to any manager in this town to have success for themselves and their client than to loop in an ineffective friend just to have somebody around on a sinking ship where nothing's going to happen. Like that's not going to happen. So whoever they're bringing you, it's not just because they know each other. They know each other because it's a tiny town and a tiny industry, and almost everybody knows each other. That's why they know each other. Does it mean they're going to do less of a professional job or anything? No, absolutely not.
And one final question from Anthony Moriani. Hi, Anthony.
Yay.
I know you're talking to him tomorrow, right?
No, telling you, it's different Anthony.
You thought it was you, Anthony. Sorry. That's why I was just joking. Should you only pitch one project to a manager, or if you have more than one polished script?
I would
let them know your catalog.
Yeah, I would start with one and let them know you've got more, but I wouldn't start off with a giant catalog, because they really do get confused. They don't have that kind of bandwidth. They want to hear. So I would lead off with your very best thing, or the thing that you feel like you've done the best on, or the one that you just are most attracted to. And I would let them know there's others, but I wouldn't detail what they are just yet. I would wait until they ask. you know? And if they were in different genres or different kind of things, I would mention that they are, but I still wouldn't get too specific about them. Elaine on Seinfeld said it the very best about dating. She's like, I'm trying to get a little squirrel to walk into the corner, and I don't want to make any big sudden movements. And like a giant list of a million projects is a big sudden movement that's going to like scare the squirrel away.
And I think I just want to reiterate too, we had, we've had different industry pros and we're bringing more on, also aside from writing, directing, producing. But like Marion, what she was very strategic. And so I was really excited when she was talking about her process, because she had a certain path that she wanted, and she found the path she wanted to go. And she didn't just do a bunch of different stuff and whatever. So she had a goal. And that was really important. I think a lot of writers are just like, anybody, just, yeah, you want to put everything out there, but it's almost like, what do you really want? And so that video is available if you guys want to listen to her suggestion on breaking in, and, to talk about, what can you do for your manager, like Fusco, like he was like, back in days of Young Guns, like, well, my manager's not going to share my script. I'm going to find somebody else who will, So all these people, like, we're bringing them on to share their also challenges and how they went circumvented the system, or their path to breaking in. But it's just that they all knew what they wanted, and I think that's the thing, So have some kind of path, I think. And you guys, Jeff is really pragmatic. Really, and I appreciate you so much, and that I don't say it very often in public, but I do. He's saying try anything, but also try anything doesn't mean go ahead and do everything. Time and money. You've got a family. You've got a budget. You're basically just saying you don't know if and when something is going to click. Try something. If you've been trying something one way for a whole year, maybe try a different path. It doesn't mean your chances are necessarily better. You're just knocking on more doors. That's really what it is. So,
and don't believe in perceived rules. There's really no rules. Don't worry about it. Navigate through your own gut, use your gut and your heart as your guide. You're always going to be the best off. Don't ever think any one step in this thing is going to be the one. You'll never come across a writer or a director where you say, so when did you feel like it really happened? And they'll all go, because you never do. It's just, you just put one foot in front of the other over and over again. It sounds so, it sounds so disingenuous. It's just true. Anyway, more to come.
Oh, no. Tony said, does this apply for finding work in late night monologue writing? I don't know, like specifically, but yeah, you just don't know what's going to open the door, what script's going to resonate with somebody. And the market keeps changing too, and also we have Matt Will Post. Hello. And
Marsha's got
a rep. No, so he's gonna the reps was like, come on. No, we welcome. No, it was
Marsha was very angry because John Fusco's video did better numbers than hers, and he was like, you know what?
No, there were writers that were like, he's actually coming on the live stream, because I guess he's like an enigma to people, like, is he real? But yeah, so I just appreciate his time because he's so just honest about it. But awesome. Matt will contact us and let us know, and we'd love to have more reps engaged. And we're just trying to demystify the process. I think everyone just feels like, if I do this, this is going to happen. And that's just not necessarily so. You've got to pick your battles, choose the options that you want to go. And I don't know, should we, Matt, any suggestions for people on, because they're all trying to hunt you down. They're saying, why can't I get rep? Why aren't they reading my query? I want a contest. Why aren't you representing me? Hear it from them directly.
Literally, come back Friday. This week's video, and the reason we wanted to talk about this here is it's all about when is it going to happen and how to make it happen. And for me, there's always been a particular equation that's just helped juice the numbers. That's it. So that's what we're going to talk about then. I think it's going to be really helpful. So please check it out. Very excited to see our YouTube channel grow. It's doing really well. Having Marsha's really juiced the numbers. So there we go. So you know how much we appreciate that. So listen, thank you, everybody. Always appreciate you being here. Questions here anytime you need them. questions, you know
Oh,
where to find us. Otherwise, all
yes.
the information is
And
below,
if
emails
you
and
guys think of, yeah, if you guys think of something later, please go ahead and put it in the comments of the video.
yeah.
So, and the chat doesn't show up for about 24 hours. So if you guys come back and watch it, you're not going to see the chat. Give it about a day, 24 hours, and then you'll see the chat pop back up if you wanted to scroll through. But please put, because we're answering the questions in the comments. So please do that, you know, so
Awesome. All
let us
right,
know.
we will see you Saturday for another one of these, another interview.
Oh yes, Joseph Malazzi. Yes.
Yes, which is going to be fun. Let's talk sci-fi. And then we'll be back next week to do this again. New video comes on Friday. Breaking Story special Halloween scary edition we're doing too, which I'm really excited about. It's a two-parter. So it's like we're going to dig deep into the scary right up until the day before my birthday. So there we go. All
And
right, I'll
you
see you.
guys